Hey everyone. First thing I want to talk about today is an idea I had for doing one of my videos. I'm very deliberate in how I mark the trails to my stands, and the reason for this is I essentially like to hide my stand locations from any other hunters in the area. It's public land, we all have access to it, but I don't want to leave a trail of breadcrumbs right to where I hunt. Now I thought about this video, but I'm kind of torn. I want to give you all the information to help you be a more successful hunter, but then I don't necessarily want to give away all my tricks. So I thought maybe we could work together on this. If you can help me, tell your friends and families, subscribe to my channel. When I hit 500 subscribers, I'm going to post that video up there for you. So I've already started working on it. I've already put some footage together of me walking through the woods, so it's exact examples on what I do out there. And I'll post that video at 500 subscribers. Now let's get into what I want to talk with you today. We've all come to the conclusion that there's no one thing that's going to make you a successful deer hunter. It's taking all the tricks and tools out there and using them in conjunction to up your odds at seeing that buck and getting a good shot on him. Something I use to plan out my entire season, and I start this in July, plan out my entire season is based on feeding times. Now there's some pamphlets out there that you can order. They're just a few dollars, and it's going to list the feeding times for the entire year. On my Garmin, there's an app on here where you can choose any date and go, and it'll give you the feeding times, major feeds and minor feeds for that date. Now, these feeding times are actually based on the moon's position relative to where you're hunting. The major feed are when the moon's directly overhead or directly underfoot, i.e. opposite side of the earth directly below you. The minor feed times are at moonrise and moonset. So essentially in one day there's going to be 4 feed times, 2 majors, 2 minors. Now you don't necessarily need a Garmin to have these apps. The internet has a number of sites that it's going to give you moonrise and moonset times. And from this, you can find out when the feed times are available without having to pay any money for it. It's strictly free. So let's hop on the computer and I'll show you some of my favorite sites. Okay, so this is probably one of the best websites that I've found. I'm sure there's many others out there, but this one is going to give you a lot of good information. It's timeanddate.com, and you'll have to go down and find the sun and moon. So you can go through moon phases, moon calculator, and that. Now here on this page, it's going to list the moon rise times as well as the moon set times. So that's going to give you your minor feeds, the times for those. So like on October 7th, you're going to have a minor feed, 4:38 and 5:36 p.m. Now you can determine the major feeds from here, this column, the meridian passing time. This gives you the time when the moon is passing directly overhead. So for October 11th, the moon passes directly overhead at 2:32 p.m. So that's going to set that 2-hour major feed window from roughly 2:30 to 4:30. Now, some of these times are going to be in the evening when it passes overhead, like 9:42 p.m. This isn't during daylight hours when we can be shooting, but as we said, the major feeds are when the moon is directly overhead or directly underfoot. Now the moon doesn't pass by evenly every 24 hours. It shifts from day to day, these times, as you can see, from 50 to 55 minutes each day. So it's overhead at 9:42. If you subtract 11 hours, that's going to give you the underfoot time or the daylight major feed time for that day. So subtracting 11 hours, that's going to put you right in that 11 a.m. spot. So you'll have a major feed, say 10:30 to 12:30 on that day. So here you could just go online and find out what dates. You'll have to go through, mark your weekends, but I'll print up calendars and fill in the weekends I want to hunt with these prime times. Now my favorite time to hunt, if I had to pick one time for the moon phase, is when there's a major feed at 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. This, you get the sunrise, sets the deer in motion, and then you have the moon setting off a major feed, and you just get a lot of deer movement that morning. Now here in October, you can see the moon's on the October 5th, it's directly overhead at 9:23 a.m. Day before, 8:26. Either of these days are going to look really good for you. If I had to pick a time when I'm least likely to hunt, is usually when it's a full moon. And this is when the moon's going to pass directly overhead in the middle of the night, right around midnight. So that's going to be October 23rd and 24th. And as you can see over here, it even gives you a little symbol for the full moon, first quarter. New moon is just completely blacked out. Now something besides with the major and minor feed times that's based on the moon cycle, just this past year I heard some people talking about apogee and perigee of the moon and how this can affect the deer as well. So it's the moon's gravity and position that kind of triggers these feed times, and based on that idea, taken into the apogee and perigee, apogee is when the moon's the furthest from the earth, perigee is when it's the closest. So at the moon's perigee, the gravitational pull is going to be stronger, and the idea is that this sets off like a greater feed for the deer. With that in mind, you can also, same website, look up apogees and perigees of the moon, and this will give it to you for the entire year. So here, its closest approach, perigee, when the gravitational pull is going to be strongest, October 5th is one of the days where it's at its closest point, and coincidentally, that's also one of my favorite times to hunt. You're going to have the moon directly overhead at 9:30 at one of its closest points. So I'm definitely going to try and get out and hunt these days this year and kind of gauge to see how this works out. Make sure my cameras are up, see how the deer move on that window the day before and the day after, and see how they're moving and see how much this holds true. Now, of course, one day is not going to give us anything conclusive, but it's just something I pay attention to as I said, I use these feed times to plan out my entire season. Come July, once I know what permits I may have gotten drawn for in the lottery, I will go through and print out monthly calendars that I'll just hole punch and put in a spiral book. And I go through and I mark all the places I hunt, like Tiger Bay, Ocala. I mark the seasons for archery, when it opens, when it closes. Same thing with muzzleloading, same thing with general gun. Then I also go and look at all the feed times and write them down. So I'll show you this here. So here I have November 2017. This is the calendar part that I made up for last season. Usually as the months go by, I tear them out and throw them away. So I marked the opening of Tiger Bay. First 9 days of it, though, are permits. So I also mark when it goes open to general gun. Here you can see I write down opening of Ocala, so I know when days open, and I'll also go through and put those feed times down in the weekends that I want to hunt. This is a 5 to 7 a.m. major feed. That's a nice prime time to have it. At Charles Bronson General Gun Permit, and we had a 10 to noon feed time on Friday. And as you can see, I marked it as all-day hunt, so I wanted to plan to hunt all day with that major feed being right at noon. On Sunday, the major feed was 12 to 2. So I'll go through and do this for each month starting in September when archery season's there. I've also gone through and marked the perigee and apogee times. I haven't, this is the first year I've looked at that, so I haven't really concluded anything with it, but based on the whole idea of the moon's gravitational pull triggering it, of course a perigee is going to be a stronger gravitational pull, as was mentioned before. So that's what I got for you today on the moons. Remember, 500 subscribers, I'm going to post that video of how to hide your deer stands, your honey holes, in plain sight. Help me out, get my subscribers up there for you, and I'll get you that information as soon as I hit that number. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.